Hello, Lucas. It is very delightful that you have made yourself available for this interview. Thank you very much. You have been a very long time in China now, and you have your own company there. It's a service company that helps startups in China. And this company looks very interesting for me. It has an interesting website, and I love the little stories on this website about Chinese life. The website is available under nihub.co. Nihub.co. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about you and your life in China.
Hello, good morning. So my name is Luca. For the introduction, my name is Luca, and I'm from Switzerland. I've been living in China since 2007. Since the beginning, I've been located in Hangzhou, the capital of the province of Zhejiang, which is around 2 hours drive from Shanghai. So I've been previously working in banking industry, both in Switzerland and in China. I worked for UBS for 8 years, and I worked for Bank of Hangzhou and Ping An Bank in China between 2008 and 2015. And now I'm doing my own entrepreneurships. I have my own company in China.
So in Europe, we are particularly aware about the high level of digitalization in China's cities. Many things are available only in digital forms, for example, cash or tickets or a lot of things. I think you have no longer credit cards. You have only your smartphone. Can you a little bit tell us more about this level of digitalization?
Okay, so regarding the digitalizations in China, actually we live in a very tech environment. So basically, if I take the best example is regarding the payments. So today I don't have anymore any wallet on me. I don't use cards anymore. I don't use cash anymore. I'm only use like the mobile. So the mobile gives us the possibility to actually do everything from payments offline to payment online to buy like tickets, to go to hospital, to go to buy foods, to wash the clothes. Anyway, everything that it's in your life can be done mobile. So today the other things what we can see is like also the effort also from the government. So basically today the government, they have a new trend which is says every administrative process that only need request one time to go to the department. So which means that they digitalize all the processes, which increase the efficiency, the speed, but also doesn't need the effort to go to the department to do all of this process. So everything is today online and can provide this process.
So this sounds a little bit as in Estonia here in Europe, the most open country in respect to digitalization. They also have digitalized their administrative processes. In Middle Europe, we are a little bit more skeptic. What do you think? Why is the digital development in China so much more dynamic and innovative than in Europe?
I think it's because people here, I always used to say the ecosystem is made to actually people support innovation. So people are used to have to try and to use new tech, new ways to actually do some stuff that they did in a more traditional way before. So it's not only about the players in market which are very innovative, it's also the market which are open and ready to try these new things. I think it's also because people here, like of course the population number is high, but also the young people number is very high. So people here are developing, are innovating new ways to provide better and more efficient process. And because the number of people, because the distance, so is of course digitalizations make a lot of business come very very close to the people, because it's come to your home, it's come to your phone, it's come to your pocket. So that's why here people are used to do that. Also, I think it's because China innovation is still quite new, so actually we didn't really have this computer like ages in China. So I would say most people, we were not online before. They discovered the online process directly with the phone, which was different, I think, from Europe, where people, they were used to first computer and then smartphone. So we skipped maybe the computer ages and directly went to the smartphone. So that's why people are from the beginning, they're used to use the phones to do a lot of things.
So if everyday life is handled to such an extent by digital channels, every citizen has to have a smartphone, at least one. And how can people who are not able to buy a smartphone, or digital refusers, how can they cope their daily life?
So that's what I mean. So basically, here everyone has a smartphone. I mean, China is also a big manufacturing of smartphone. So we have smartphone, maybe high quality, pretty expensive, but we also have very, very, very affordable smartphone here, because manufacturing are local. So I would say today, I honestly never see in the street anyone who doesn't have a smartphone. So from the white collar to the street cleaner, so everyone has a smartphone in a pocket. So that's why actually everyone have the possibility to use it. At the same time, I don't see people here are digital refusers, but this is also because a lot of businesses were smart to say, okay, we need to promote that. So basically, for example, the offline businesses, online payments, they provided a lot of benefits, a lot of incentives for people to use a smartphone to pay. So that's why people, they actually very open to get benefits to use smartphones. So that's why I don't think there's any digital refusers in China compared to Europe.
Oh, nice to hear that there are no digital refusers. How is the life in the countryside, where by no means every citizen is connected?
I think that's the difference. It's like here in China, it's like everyone is connected, and the government, the big players for telecom like China Mobile and others, they put a lot of effort to actually connect the whole country. So of course, at the beginning, rural countryside, they didn't have same infrastructures that maybe the city had it, but they already today connected the whole country on 4G, and I'm sure they will do the same with 5G. So the big players, the telecom, the big tech company, they already put a lot of efforts. If you look at Alibaba, they are from the very beginning, when they use the e-commerce strategy, they also open like rural e-commerce strategy. So it means that they really bring this technology into the countryside. So I think today the China countryside are much more connected than what we can see in Europe's countryside.
Oh, yeah, yeah. In this respect, there is a lot to do in Europe. How has the relationship between young and old changed due to the digitalization?
I think China for that part is like the young people, of course, are everywhere the same. It's like they are developing, they are trying new tech, but that's changed also the old generations. We have like the biggest, one of the most successful way of communications in China called WeChat. So of course, the past years, every young people were connected through WeChat, but today you can also see that the old generations, they are starting to use WeChat as well. So it's part of the day-to-day process. So I don't think there's a big gap between both generations.
So in China there is this citizen index rating system that decides about penalties and benefits. What significance has this system for Chinese people? Do they check their index every hour, or do they really care?
Honestly, no. I mean, the media in the West, they put that as a bad thing. I will not spend too much time on commenting on that, but in the reality, I will say a lot of citizen index are made by also like tech company. So for example, Alibaba through their mobile payment system, like which is called Alipay, they have this point system. But the point system goal is like actually will be the same as a banking system index, what we can see in the West. But because we have much more data, this data we can use also to provide better services. So for example, I take a very simple example. When you rent an apartment, you always have to provide like a guarantee, right, for the renting. But today, because people have good rating, because they paid on time the credit card, because they pay on time the payment, and because we can see the consumer forces, and because salary maybe goes to mobile. So actually, so a lot of people today, they don't need to put guarantee anymore because they have good the system. On the other side, China has been always focusing a lot about making the population in a good harmony. So if let's say, for example, the tourism and everything, so yes, they try to educate the populations to not make bad stuff. We have seen many like Chinese tourists went abroad and had some issues, and this is pretty badly viewed from China because they want their citizens to be nice citizens. So they do that a bit as a penalty to say if you don't play well, then you can also get trouble to maybe take the plane and everything. But I would think it's similar as the system that we have abroad, where if you have a lot of payments that you didn't make, then you can also get blacklisted. So it would not be so much different. The only difference is like they use a lot of data that is maybe different from the data that we use abroad because it's also very available. But this index, as I say, in the day-to-day practice for most of the people, I would say for the majority of the people, it still provides benefits compared to what the media in the West will say that it's provide a problem.
So it seems to me that giving away data is for Chinese people more has more benefit than disadvantages. You know, here in Europe and in US, it's just other side around. Another question: could you observe some discontinued periods in the last time where digitalization is suddenly promoted or curtailed, cut back? Did you observe something like this?
Uh, I think I'm not sure if I understand well these questions, but what we can see is like China, they love to work with trends. So we have this big O2O trend, so putting offline into online, and that's where the mobile payments came very strongly. Today we are in an age where AI, artificial intelligence, and a lot of things come as well, which actually today a lot of company they also use that like video surveillance company to use AI to develop the country, and which provide better security and everything. So I think China, I always call it like a big incubator where the governments they actually support a lot strongly innovation, and they let the businesses create these innovations and they support it financially. So I would say the businesses they actually develop new business model, new technology, and when this is done, that's where the government get on the market and say, okay, maybe we should regulate it in case it go to the wrong side. But that's why also China is fast. That's why China is strong strong today because they're supporting this technology. So the political leaderships, I would say, they are actually they are the second players. They are behind the businesses. So my point is like they are supporting, they are providing support to create innovations, but they will not constrain innovation before it's made. So they may come later when there is like some problems. Like if I take an example, we had these big waves of bike sharing in China, where a lot of company provided biking sharing apps and technology, and we finally saw that in every big city there was bikes everywhere. So then at that time the government had to get out of they have to mention that, yeah, we need to regulate that, to not put bikes everywhere in every city. I think it's a fair move.
Which of all these digitalization efforts could be transferred immediately to Europe? What do you think?
So I mean, all of them are pretty strong, and I think I'm a guy which I care, of course, about privacy, but at the same time, I believe data is changing everything, and and I think data will, even if people doesn't like it, data will provide a lot of new tech. So if we talk about artificial intelligence and other trends, I think this is also a good way to provide better solutions, to provide more tailored solutions, to provide a better secure environment. And I think all of that, it can already immediately transfer to Europe. So the only question is like, those people in Europe are ready to open that? I think the political are maybe not yet ready because they see like the population is not ready. But even if people are not ready, it will still come. So I think it's better actually to analyze this new tech and to transfer it to Europe as well, and to actually see the opportunity, and of course to find solutions to the challenge and the problems. That's what we are doing in China, because even if there is some challenge, but I think it's also opportunity to find solutions for that.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you absolutely. People in Europe are not yet ready. On the other hand, do you see some digital projects that cannot be transferred immediately to Europe without deep adaptations?
I don't think so. I think I think what we see here today in China in terms of new tech are the same needs in Europe. So people needs, people's life, people day-to-day problems, I would say, are not different in China than in Europe. So Chinese are very strong in terms of business model. So I think they always find way to make more efficient ways. I mentioned about the government. I think government today they are pretty big strategy to get online, and it's actually changed a lot for all of the citizens and businesses, because it provides very efficient solutions. Uh, So I don't think it's need a big massive adaptations to actually promote, I would say, except of course the language, which needs to be adapted. The other things, I mean, of course we need to adapt to the local regulations, but I think at the same time there's not a big gap of the needs.
Okay. Do you see a change of the work due to digitalization? In which respect?
I've been in China since 11 years, and of course we see a lot of change because China is a very fast environment and very challenging environment. So I think the change in work in connection with digitization is because it's a very competitive market. So we have many big companies which are very strong in terms of innovations. We have a lot of startups which are set up, created by very talented people. So it's a very challenging and fast environment. So it's changed every day, the way to work, the way to connect, the way to see the digitizations. And I think the biggest change I've seen is, like, of course, at the beginning, I've been to China, it was a lot of copycat from what we can see from the West. And today we don't see any more copycat from from the West to China, it's more the opposite. It's like the West is starting to copy China. So that's how you can see that the competitions, the support on innovations create a lot of talent pool, which today are developing this new innovation.
Okay, very interesting. Um, to what an extent work the average citizen in China, other than his father, worked due to digitalization?
Uh, I think I think the biggest difference is the job are different. So maybe the previous generations were mostly working in more traditional environments, more traditional company, like more manufacturing, and today the young generation are working in more tech and innovative like environment. So I will say the biggest difference is that I think there's difficulty to compare both because it's totally different. So of course today we need to use this technology to communicate, to provide a process which were not needed before. So it's not, I will say, a big. It's not something which is easy to compare because it's totally two different generations.
However, it does not seem that more people are working mobile or at home than their father did. What is the relationship between work and leisure in leisure time in China?
Here, I mean, we have this way to say China is 996, which means 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and 6 days a week. So people here they work a lot. Definitely, they work a lot and they work strongly. So leisure time is already pretty limited. This is not a requirement from the company, it's more like a standard, and people are used to do that, and they like to work. And of course, during the leisure time, people today start to get more rich, so they also uh, discover this leisure time that maybe they didn't have the possibility before. So people are traveling, people are consuming a lot. Of course, China is a very consuming market, so that's why you can see that iPhone and big tech company they actually sell a lot in China because people like to buy stuff. They like to be techy and they like to buy the new stuff. And if you look at luxury, if you look at all the brands that you are in Europe, China today is definitely one of the biggest markets because China's love to do that. So I think the biggest difference with Europe is, of course, people here they are not used yet to enjoy life simply. So if I look at my parents, they like to go for a walk in a mountain and very simple stuff, and that's not yet in China for most of the population. But it will come because people they care more now about their health, about their standard life, and maybe also because they already have everything, they need to become to more simple pleasure.
996 is certainly something that never changed over the few last generations. Is the future of work also discussed in China, and if yes, by whom?
I think it is discussed on a daily basis because, as I say, people here are always trying to find better way to make the life more efficient and more successful. So that's why I think today every company they spend their days, they spend every day to try to find better way to work. And I think this is done by every players in the industry, so companies, startups, big company, big corporate, and of course government. So it's on a daily basis discussion that people are always trying to define the future of work and to do it. The only difference maybe is like for China the future is not 10 years later, is maybe tomorrow. So that's why they they are fast. At the same time, if you look at government, they always have 5 years, 10 years plan, and this is done as well by company. And what is interesting is like you can see that all the plans have been reached because they think long time, but at the same time they work, they do this move, they create the future every day. So that's why it can achieve.
Are there enough skilled workers in respect to the dynamics of digitalization?
That was and still a big challenge for most of the companies to find talent. It has been better the past 5 years, 10 years, because we have big successful company like Alibaba, like Tencent, which motivated people to make their path into this new technology. So industry. So today we have a lot of very talented people, and it's still challenging because there is a lot of demands. So it's challenging to find the people because there is a lot of competition for them. But I think it's the new generation. They are all focusing on that. So if you look at AI, especially artificial intelligence, I think China has been the biggest, the best country in terms of innovation. It's also due because we have a lot of talent. We were very early focusing on that.
It seems that China has not to be worried about the next generation of technology, information technology workers. But maybe for that there will be a shortage of young people in social professionals. How are Chinese workers in information technology prepared to the dynamics of information technology and digitalization?
I think it's a bit similar. I think people here they are used to this new tech. So I would say if you look at old tech like email, people are not using email in China, and they never really use email in China because it's always been in this new trend and new way to communicate. So they are dynamic in terms that they adapt, and also they follow the trends. So if everyone is using a new trend, they will go and use it as well.
So, can you explain us something about Chinese school system?
True. I'm not so familiar so much in terms of school system, except that it's very challenging. If you look at young people, very young kids, they have a lot of homework. So of course the school system is very competitive because the structure is like only the best will go to the best school. So it's really based, of course, still on the result. So compared to the West, we are maybe less pushing on the innovation and creativity and everything in the school system. So it's always to be the best and to get to the best school. On the other side, parents, because they have more money and also because they care about the education of the kids, they put a lot of money and energy to actually educate the kids to extra scholar system. So all the kids they go like during the weekends for playing for new education. So they are learning like robotics, they are learning like instruments and a lot of things which develop these innovations skills.
Oh, that sounds that there are a lot of digitalization efforts in Chinese schools.
Yes, I mean, as I said, they already today because the parents are asking that, because the government are asking that. So today they still already start to create these innovative workshops. They put computer early stage at school. They creating like course for robotics, for a lot of things which are following the trends.
What importance is attached to the further education of employees?
Training today again is something that can be more developed. Um Employee they are really demanding in terms of training. I think it's part of the benefits they want to get from company, but at the same time they are not really spending so much effort to get trained, because a lot of people they are just still following the trends, still following what the management are asking them to do. So they want to educate themselves, but at the same time they just do it more for result oriented. So they are looking for getting a certificate and everything. So it's not maybe yet into their heart. So I will think the relationship between people and between employee to training is still not as far as it is in Europe, and I think this is also a big opportunity for European or for Western company to try to get more of this education effort into China.
It seems to be a everywhere problem. On one side, you have the operational pressure, on the other side, the need for further training and lifelong learning. And this is a tightrope walk, I think. Um, who decides on further training of the employees in China?
I think, as I say, it's more about the competition again. So, employee they want to educate themselves to get a certificate for a reason that they maybe want to move to another company with better benefit, compensations, and salaries. So, for that they need more certificate. So, it's really like goal oriented. Of course, the company they also pay for the educations, but it will be more for retention of employee than to really like trying to educate on a daily basis the people. So it's very goal oriented. So this is maybe the, as I already mentioned, the point that needs a bit of improvement in China.
At least something in which Europe is ahead. What competencies have employees in this respect?
Again, Western company or Western managed company will focus a lot of educations because it's important. Chinese company they will do it, but it's more like to check the case than just to really focusing about what really employee will learn from that. So I think it's also give this impression to employee that to join a training is just to join it, is not to learn so much. So we need to make more effort on that part. How are digital media used in continuing education? It starts to be a lot because again in China we have creating a lot of these online education courses, and also because people are busy, so they always at work place, and company they still didn't really want their employee to go to training too many times of the week. So I would think, for example, an example like English educations. A lot of people today are using online English educations to educate themselves.
Finally, one more question. Are Chinese aware of their influence about the development of the world?
Yes, because they want to change the world, because they have that in their DNA. They want to become successful. They are proud of themselves. So they already, of course, understand this influence. So Chinese are opportunistic. So they want to be the best in the world. But the way to do it, they don't want to kill others. They want to create themselves. So they are proud of themselves, but also it's by their work. So they don't spend too much time on jealousies, or like for example I think Europe today is very jealous and scared of China. So Chinese they don't use this kind of strategy when they want to be the best and to develop the world. They want to work hard to get into that part.